Welcome to Monday Night Domains. We are live. How you doing today, Dad?
It's time for MND.
MND. Monday Night Domains.
Monday Night Domains.
You getting
Julie,
ready?
it's
Huh?
conference week. It's
How's,
conference week.
how you doing over there?
Pretty good. I did a little packing, got the clothes, got a little printing done, got some material, got my little mini whiteboard that I'm bringing to kind of draw
Okay,
out
yes,
some
I like you.
decisions, and make little announcements at our booth. Look at that.
Should I bring
And
mine?
gotta find a little cute eraser or something like that. You know what I mean?
I have a T-shirt. Hey,
Wow.
everybody! Thanks for joining. So more than SEO, you're going to be there. That's going to be exciting.
I know. I'm going to see more than SEO in
The man,
person.
the myth, the legend. We got to make
Boss,
sure
how are you? Sorry we missed everyone last week. We had, I would say, technical difficulties, but we just decided to put all of our energy into this week's show.
we took advantage of the holiday weekend, so
there you go.
Off and yeah, I got mostly packed today because tomorrow I actually have book club, so I'm not gonna have too much time tomorrow to pack. So I was like just panic throwing everything in a suitcase. And let me just say, I have fit the most amount of things in a suitcase that I think anyone has ever fit in a suitcase.
Now, you asked me if you were carry-on or check bag. What did you decide?
I thought I was check bag.
You are. We'll pay Delta to carry that bag for you.
Yeah, no. I fit a lot of stuff in there. I forewent the ring light.
Gotcha.
But I got some fun merch. Got some of our stuff from Domainer Expo.
Fantastic.
All packed up and ready.
Well, got my Freename hat. I got my Freename pins there. Stop by the booth. Got a Freename pin. Got my Web United bags. We have our banners. I have 4 different phones. I got
Am I supposed to pack the banners that I have?
I didn't know you had a banner.
Yes.
What does it say? No, you're not, but
it's the big stand-up one that likes to smack you in the face when you try and stand it up.
How did you go back with one of those?
Because I was sent back with one of those to put in some of our videos.
Okay, way to go. Let's see. I'm going to give you a chance to see. I need to retweet where we are. How do I do that? I'm from my Twitter. Do I just tell them to go to Freename?
I just retweeted the live.
Okay. Oh, look, Freename is live. When I go to X, it tells me that Freename is live. So that's good.
Yeah. If you go to my community CFD profile and I retweeted it, and you can just retweet from there if you want to.
That's what I'll do.
Everyone can join and hang out with us. Hopefully, everyone else is also getting ready for Austin. I don't know when. I'm sure people will start flying out tomorrow.
Except if they're coming from around the world. It's funny because I can almost talk about my domain life in terms of conferences. You know what I mean? Different. Mm-hmm. There was a movie a long time ago called Same Time Next Year, and it was about this couple who met early, and then even though they both got married and everything, they met the same time each year, and it was like a way to go through their whole lives. You know what I mean? And so I think about going to domain conferences in 03, 04, 05 when parking revenue was the big deal, big parties, lots of money going around, and then resale domains became really big, leading up to the big New York show where I sold seniors.com. Then we had the financial crisis, and the idea was that domains would be able to survive, and so we kept going for a couple years. You went to Australia to Traffic Down Under. Julie went to her first domain conference was Traffic Down Under.
I remember there being a snake. So I think you guys are a little bit more adventurous than I was 8 years old, and I just saw a giant snake.
There was a company called Fabulous at the time, and they were just a fantastic company. And that whole conference was planned when things were just strong and great. And then literally on the plane to fly down there, you probably never knew this, but Dad was nervous. That was the day that Lehman Brothers went under and the stock market crashed and the people were worried about their money and everything. Here we are trying to enjoy ourselves, talking about domain names, and it was really something. But then there was kind of a pause. And then in 2013, I think, Richard Lau, who had been a very successful person in the domain business with registrars, with companies more than anything, he decided to bring back the idea of a conference called NamesCon in Las Vegas in January, which is the time that we were all used to going. And he had it at the Tropicana, which made it affordable. We were coming off some tough years. So all of a sudden, $100 room and $199 conference looked pretty good, compared to an $1,800 conference. And because of that, we were able to kind of get everyone back together. And that first NamesCon, when people hadn't seen each other for a while, how is everybody doing, was really fantastic. And so as the years went on, it got bigger, it got more expensive. Another company bought it, then GoDaddy bought it. Now CloudFest owns it. So it's more, it's changed its culture. But anyway, I'm going to still see the same people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's going to be fun. No, I'm excited to hopefully see some of the people that, I met at Domainer Expo and go to my second, well, I guess technically my third, if we're counting Australia when I was 8, my third domain conference. That's going to be so much fun. I've got a bunch of stuff, hopefully, that I can talk about.
I think it's really going to be interesting because I was thinking about a presentation I was going to probably give. I'm not sure if I'm giving it now. And, I really want to, from perspective point of view, .com is still .com. .com is where you do your business. This is what we are. And yet there's some great innovative strategies. But I was in a room on Spaces a couple weeks ago, and these people were talking about, well, you Web3ers are this, and you are this, and you don't get it, and and everything. And I said to somebody, I said to the room, I said, I feel like I'm listening to one room talking about food, and we've got barbecue grit pit masters and vegans in the same room. And neither one of them is ever going to convince the other one, oh, you're right, I'm going to start eating pulled pork. And the pulled pork guy is probably more likely to switch to vegan than the other way around. But that's whenever I had my spaces on Clubhouse, I would always say at the beginning that what we're trying to do here on Monday Night Domains tonight is talk about domains. And we'll talk about .com domains and regular domains. And we'll talk about Web3 domains and tokenized domains. And that's because the show is sponsored by Freename. And Freename is a variety of things now. They've got 4 main initiatives to improve the DNS. It's 25 years old. We're going to meet in NamesCon Vint Cerf, who is one of the creators of the technology that underlies the internet. And what I mean by that is we had to take voice and video and content and put it in a data packet in a way that could be sent around the world. And they did that. The early pioneers did that. And it was decentralized. Anybody could connect. And it was run, just to give you a history lesson, over the unused capacity in phone lines. It was like, hey, you're not using that capacity. You built this big phone line. You've got some little extra room up there. Let us use that to send these data messages. And it's funny because, and I'm going to talk about this next week, the internet started out decentralized, and then the business of internet domain names centralized it around this group called ICANN. But the original origins were very decentralized. And so now that we've grown and it's grown and it's grown, and I agree that having everything central, inside of ICANN helped it grow and be dominant and everything. But now I think it's okay. We have a little innovation.
Yeah.
And so that's good. But anyway,
so
Julie,
if people from VeriSign are going to be there at NamesCon?
VeriSign is usually there. I don't know if they will this time. They usually sponsor a couple things. this will be an interesting year for VeriSign because it's the first year in a long time where their registrations have dropped. Only
Oh.
by a little bit, only by 1%. But when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, 1% makes a difference.
Yeah,
And
100%.
Julie, they've really never had to market or show up at these things.
Yeah, they just kind of win because they have .com.
They do. And if you look at their stock, VeriSign stock, which has gone up tremendously over the past 10 years, I mean, any domainer would have been better just buying VeriSign stock. They make, for every $8 they get for a domain name, in other words, when you pay GoDaddy or Namecheap or NameSilo or whatever, you pay them like $10.50 or $11.50 or $12.50, and they give about $9.25 of that to VeriSign.
Yeah.
And if you look at VeriSign's books, which are public, they keep about half of that as pure profit.
Wow.
Now, they have invested a lot of money to make sure that the DNS system works and to make sure their root servers work, and they defend a lot of attacks, and they do a lot of good things. But still, every domain I register, I give half, not to VeriSign. I give $9.50 to VeriSign, but half goes just to their shareholders. So, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, excited.
I'm super excited. I'm ready to learn. I've got 3 different notebooks I think I'm going to bring. So, Dad, what would you say is the best way to get the most out of a domain name conference?
So I think the first decision you want to make is the content that's at the conference. NamesCon doesn't record. I think that gives the speakers a little more freedom because they don't have to think, oh, this is going to be replayed for the next 20 years. So they don't record. So what you hope for is to be in the seminars where there's kind of a you had to be there moment.
Mm-hmm.
And those have been happening less and less lately until a little bit last year. And I think especially this year, there'll be more because we've got some of the real heavy hitters that have negotiated the $1 million deals. You know what I mean? We've got those big companies there. And a lot of the talks are just interviews with those people that are either they've done it before, they're doing it right now, or they plan to do it again. And so I find myself wanting to get an early peek at the schedule, look at the agenda at namescon.com, and be able to, I actually printed it off. So I've got it.
It is released now. That's good.
I've got it, I've got it printed off here. So I have each day, of each one of the conferences. There's 2 different rooms. So I know which ones I want to get to. I don't want to go, oh man, I was talking to someone in the hallway and time passing by and I missed the interview with Vince Cerf, who's one of the founders of the internet.
Yeah.
Was the ICANN chair for 10 years. I missed the Andrew one. I missed Braden Pollock. So for me, it's the first thing is planning out the seminar you want to be, and then that gives you your openings for meetings to schedule meetings. And what you want to do beforehand is schedule. Most people use Calendly, and they'll put their open times, and you can put your open times. And then if you see somebody on social media beforehand, you say, I'm headed to NamesCon or any conference, hashtag the conference. Someone goes to LinkedIn or Twitter, looks at the hashtag, sees who's going, says, do you want to set up a meeting time? So then you set up your meetings, and then you have an idea of when are the times that you'll kind of be freelancing. And then you try to understand your offsite events, your social events. You know what I mean? Which one are you going to go to? You may end up doing 2 in one night. Which one you're going to early, which one you're going to late. So that's the way I think about getting ready for NamesCon.
Okay. Yeah, and now NamesCon has their app. I don't know if you've been on it, but they have where you can reach out and kind of connect and set meetings with people.
Exactly. So, what I've done is like I'm going to open up Domain Outlet tomorrow with discounted .com domain names all the way down to $9 and up. And I'll put that on the app. I'll say, NamesCon special, use code NamesCon for 30% off. And use it as a way to advertise to my fellow attendees, as well as see who's going to be there that I know I want to meet with. I don't just want to hope I meet him in passing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, it's like, who do I want to meet with? And then other people, I'll be like, I want to catch them at either the Tuesday, the Wednesday night party is the opening party, and then
the Dynadot.
No, there's an opening party for the conference at 5 to 7, I think. So you're going to be getting there right about the time that happens. And then, so you're going to hit the ground running when you get there, Julie.
So I should not plan an airplane outfit, is what I'm thinking. I should plan on wearing whatever I plan on wearing that night on the plane.
Well, but I'll talk to you about that later. But anyway, so
yeah, none of y'all care about outfits.
But anyway, so I thought, because we talked about Freename a little bit and we talked about Web3 domains, I want to show you a little chart that I'm taking with me to NamesCon.
Yeah, let's see
I think I've showed this before, but we'll see if I haven't. And for you that are listening or watching the replay, this is how I think about Web3.
Oh, you showed me this.
Did that show up?
Yes.
Okay, so for me, this inner circle, this white circle with the red box, this is our existing internet. We have a public root. It's universal. It comes downloaded on every device. One of the reasons it comes downloaded on every device is that the trademark protections that are given to large companies are only given if the device makers and the browser makers use a root zone that has these protections. So that's how they avoid lawsuits. But it is trusted. It's a hybrid system, meaning you transfer domain names with their authorization code. So in some ways, it's like a blockchain. You give permission to the robot that runs the internet domain name system. There's no one standing there watching it. If you have the right code, you can transfer a name. If you pay a registrar for a new name, that registrar can take the name out of the world of unregistered names, and it just makes it a registered name. And so it's centralized in that, but it's a hybrid. It's decentralized in that you can do things with codes and automatically without anyone checking it. It's not like when you register a domain name, they're like, hey, we'll get back to you in 24 hours. Now, some countries do that. Some little tiny island countries, they still have someone like in the movie John Wick, stamping the thing or something like that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that makes it a hybrid is there is a system of registries and registrars and ICANN that kind of gives you a backstop. Hey, I lost my password. If you lose your wallet password, you can't get your wallet back.
Yeah.
And your stuff is gone. If you get a domain name stolen from you, really stolen, you can at least call the registrar and maybe put a lock or a hold on it while you use the courts or other means to get it back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, and so whether that's good or bad, that's the system we have. It started being funded by the U.S. government. It has universal resolution. These are the little things in red. There's lots of education about it. Everyone's been able to use the same terms and the words. We have these licenses, these franchises that have been given out to registries, and they have their own rules and registrars. And that's the system that existed, this system in white. And Julie, I dare say when you started, you really didn't know much about this at all because you were mostly on social media and apps, and you just pressed buttons, right?
I was definitely I didn't know anything whenever I first got into this. I hit the ground running, and I've learned as I went. And now I feel like I've got a solid like B-level average, in the world of domain names and the internet. But yeah, I also learn more every day from you and every Monday from the show. So,
well, and the thing that happened is, I think I'm gonna criticize our industry, the domain name industry, because only a few people knew about it at the beginning. It was kind of easy to hold it over everyone else's head. I understand domain hosting. I understand the domain name system. I went and got the best names. But what's funny is a lot of people who were early to domain name investing didn't get the best names. They got what they thought was the best. But boy, if they could go back now, especially with brandable names like, just words that convey emotion and call to action names. No one even thought of that back then. It was all like, well, just whatever categories at the library are very popular. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever's in the dictionary, whatever's in the encyclopedia, before Wikipedia. So, But anyway, I think that there still exists this idea that if we can make it a little bit complicated, we can take people's money by saying, trust us, we know what we're doing. And I think the Web3 and the younger generations are kind of rebellious to that. They're like, well, what if we want to do it our own way? And I think that's where a lot of the friction is between Web2 and Web3.
I think the friction kind of comes from people trying to say that one is better than the other, whereas I think they're just different. It's not comparing apples it's comparing apples and oranges, and you can't do that. I mean, Web3 has so many of its own positives and negatives, because if there is no forgot your password, but you can have any TLD that you want. You're not forced to follow ICANN standards. You're getting all of this innovation. So I think that needs to be a huge conversation in domaining, is that you don't have to be better. Like, you can, like, you are very blended. Well, not very, you're not 50-50, but you do Web 2 and you do Web 3. And so I think that is definitely something to work on. But I think you're right. Whereas the domain community might feel a little exclusive. Like, oh, they're very much a community. And so you guys have a lot of your own slang and a lot of your own terms that makes it really hard for outsiders to get in. And so I think that's kind of one of those things that we have to change and stop saying, even Dad, the DNS. I didn't know what that meant whenever I first got into this. I had not a clue. So we got to chill with your abbreviations. And I think that's why Freename actually sponsors this show, is to really get us back down to the basics of domains. So I like to call it Dad and Dummy, because I've only been in this for a year and Dad's been in it for 24. So I get to ask all the questions.
Well said. Well said. I gotta find this. Okay, here we go. So what happened was, I think the NFTs were really important. When the NFT boom hit, you had people doing things digitally on the internet using their devices that did not really involve domain names. Now, sure, OpenSea was at OpenSea.io, but you had this world of Discord, of these decentralized servers. And I think a lot of that came from people's experience growing up, as we've talked about, with Minecraft and other things like that. You know what I mean? But I think you had Discord and Telegram, where all of a sudden you had chat and communication happening. And then you had this thing called a wallet, which connected to your browser and gave you a bank, basically, that you could move money in and out of to buy stuff without hoping your bank was open, or doing an ACH, or on Friday having to say, well, can't do anything to Monday. It was 24/7, 365. And if you think about it, people are home from work at night. That's when they're thinking about a little crazy investing. That's when they're gambling on football, playing fantasy football, doing stuff, gaming, you know what I mean? And so I think what happened is you had the world of cryptocurrency, blockchain, digital collectibles, and the ICANN world kind of just put their blinders on and said, they're not as good as us, they're not as good as us, they're not as good as us. And then when Web3 domains came, they said, they're not as good as us. And what happened was, these things existed kind of in this outer realm, is what I tried to draw in this picture. This idea of this area that's above ICANN, that you could have non-approved extensions. You could have, even though emojis are tricky on the ICANN system, and they're tricky in Web3, but people didn't care. They went for them. You had crypto wallets. You had airdrops. People want atomic transfer. You want to be able to jump on new trends with a TLD without waiting for ICANN to maybe get out. So this is the way that I say that the registries and the registrars, they didn't expand to include these things. So new companies were allowed to grow, like Freename, and you have other companies like Unstoppable and ENS domains and things like that. And you have registrars like Namecheap and Porkbun. They're selling Web3 domains in the Handshake system because they have the customers that understand domain names. So yes, they want to sell those companies other products, and they fully disclose that they're not official ICANN. But that's what I think I try to describe to people is, just because the people in the white, the old timers, just because they say to people outside their sphere of influence, you can't do it, people out here just don't care, because they're connecting with the customers directly. You
I
know,
think,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, I think honestly, a way to think about it is that, and this is kind of how I think about it, is that Web 2 exists here, and then you have games and apps, and that's the extreme of what Web 3 could be. And then Web 3 almost bridges the world of our general internet domain name system and apps, because like people think that Web3 is this outlandish idea, and as you explained to me very, very early in this process, it's really not. It's you download something to access a server, and that's the exact same thing you're doing with computerized video games, anything like that. So there's really, and so, but people like to think of it as very outlandish, but if anything, it's less. Like it's pre, if things were to develop in a linear order, it would have gone Web 2, Web 3 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really great way. The way you explain it to me, that is such a great way to explain it to other people, is just like you would download a game to have access to that server.
You can see a picture of my wife, but this little thing up in the top corner that says Freename DNS, that's all it takes to see the whole new world of Web3 domains, is adding an app. Julie, how many apps do you have on your phone?
Don't call me out like that. I'm not telling y'all.
But the idea of not just going, oh, I can't do it, I have to stick with the ICANN system, and someone says download an app. Netflix people don't do that. They said, oh, we want more content, let's go to Netflix.
And
social medias, yeah.
They have Web 2 websites. There is a Netflix.com that you can watch, but some features are only available on the app. And that's something that we talk about on this live a lot, is that you can combine the two and really get the best of both worlds and promote your Web3 TLD or your Web3 website. Anything that you want to do on Web3, you can promote that on a Web 2 domain. Like, and I think the people that are trying to keep them separate are really going to limit what Web3 can be. So I got distracted by Mom's comment, but I
think you're right. And I think, Julie, I think the other thing is that Facebook especially, and then Twitter and all the other social networks, they convince people to give them their real name.
Yeah.
But nothing says you have to. I think there's a future in digital identities. And what I hate is that people can use it for bad. But I'm going to talk about how you use it for good. Is I may want to go hang out in a club with a different identity than I use for my everyday business life. I may want to go hang out in a space as pagehow.v along with all my other .v holders. And I may not necessarily want them to then click back and see, you know, what my posts were about my grandson's nephew's graduation. You know what I mean? I think this idea that Facebook and Google wanted to sell us and know exactly who we are, to know where we lived, how much we made, how much we spent on stuff, what our search history was, everything about us, so they could sell us. I think there's a world for having more than one digital identity, where just like you wear a different outfit somewhere, you come in, and sometimes you want to come in maybe a little anonymously. That's why the digits are so neat. The digits club I'm doing in XYZ, you may just want to come in and be 1263.xyz, and what you say and what you do is your credibility with this new digital identity. You know, you don't come in with, you're not given anything and you're not judged by anything. It's just who you are. And I think that's a future.
And I think it definitely also helps you kind of like wear different hats, so it kind of categorizes your purpose. Because, you know, some people, dad is the best at this. Some people might have different ideas. You might have about 15 ideas in a day. And so, you know, my purpose I do science by day. So when I'm in science, I have my science hat on, and I've got to remember that I'm doing science, and my purpose is to do science. And when I'm talking to people, I'm probably talking about science. But then I come, and I have a different social media for that side of my life, and that has friends and all this stuff. And then I come to the domain world, and I'm juliejules.cfd, and I'm fashion, and I'm this, and I'm that, and we're marketing, and we're talking. And I think that that's something that can really be helpful with a domain, because I mean, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter just got to where they're letting us have a multitude of different accounts. But I think you still even have to have new emails. Like, we really had to fight for them to be like, oh, no, we don't think this is still you. Like, you're allowed to have another account. So I think that's going to be a really big pro. But then as we as I just said, they want new emails for new accounts. See, and how can you get a new email? If you have a domain, then you get an email. If you use
But
that
then you
domain.
need to have a phone number because you have to verify. And then
Yeah.
once you have too many accounts on a phone number, and that's where the idea of having a wallet and the digital identity in the wallet. So I'm pagehow.v. I sign up for a new decentralized social network as pagehow.v. When I sign in and I connect my wallet, it looks in my wallet, it sees pagehow.v. On the blockchain, I'm pagehow.v. That's immutable. It knows that I'm still pagehow.v, right? No one else has taken over pagehow.v. And I can interact as pagehow.v without a bunch of extra steps.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of when people envision the use cases going forward. It's stuff like that.
And yeah, I mean, we use different websites for different things for even just within one brand. You know, we have with our work with CFD, we have the community page that we post fashion content, and it's very much fashion. We really don't talk about a ton about domains. And then we have the let's.cfd that is our domain store, and then I have juliejules.cfd, and that's my personal store, and they're all us. But if you try to combine all of that into one thing, it would be so confusing to anyone who tried to read it, because they would say, are you this, are you this, are you this, are you this? And I'm like, yes, but this is all you
exactly. At any given time, I may be one of those.
Yeah, but my science people do not care what I do out here, so I do not need to send them to a website where I talk about here. And you guys do not care what I do in science. Well, you do. You're my dad. But so I should not send you to a website where I talk about what I do there.
Julie, the peeps want to hear more of you. They're telling me to knock it off,
I know. I really don't know what else to say. I feel like I got a fan here.
Well, hey, one of the things I like to do each week is I like to go into Freename. And if you click on who is, even though it's just a little menu thing up there, you can either look up who owns any Web3 domain name on Freename. You can look at the wallet address. It won't tell you the personal information, but you can look at the wallet address. You can look up Web3 domains on Unstoppable or ENS. But one of the things I like to do sometimes is go to Freename Explorer, and it'll show me the latest TLDs that people have bought. In other words, they're owning .fossilfuel, .oil drilling, .wwaavvee. But if you wanted to say this is a way of saying wave, then, and you can build a community around it, when you own .wave, then you can sell people page.wave and julie.wave and surfing.wave. And that's what owning a TLD allows you to do. It's in Web3. People have to get the plugin for it. But sometimes people don't even want to use their name. They just want to say that they have it.
I have one.
There you go.
I have Julie Jules.
And then other times you can say, well, let's like .custom shirts. I mean, here's one that can be a real business. You know what I mean? You can have, imagine in Web3 having a print for you store called, Monday Night Domains.custom shirts. And you go there and immediately you can order custom shirts and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you send your payment to Monday Night Domains.custom shirts. So anyway.
I like it. And I like seeing all the new registrations.
The word moji here, that's the word and the emoji together, the word moji, crypto and the lightning bolt. I mean, that looks pretty cool. There's a lot of, go ahead.
Can you see what price they're being registered for, or is that top secret information?
You can't see what it's registered for. Like .Korea was probably a premium, so that could have been $3,000 or $4,000. .pay-per-view maybe. Anything that's 4 or 5 letters is probably not going to be the standard $79. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, $99, $299, $399, and then common words are going to be more. Yeah. But something like marketings is probably just $79. Crypto block could be that. My ETH is a really good address. You know what I mean?
That's
you can people.
Great.
There.
That's really good.
What else do you see here, Julie? I'll go to page 2.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have contacts in. I can't see much.
Okay. Injury law, internet punk. So there you go. That could be an NFT project or a meme coin or something.
Coinbase.
Coinbase with a little X on it, Bitcoin with the money bag, .freely. There's kind of a neat little brandable, and this is where the domain industry's changed a lot. Is like, even if you were a Freename fan club or you just like the word free, you could get a logical name, but freely kind of lets you, it hints at free. You know, there's something about the community that has to do with finding free stuff, maybe, right? But you kind of brand it where you can even trademark it because you're making what freely works, right, Julie?
Yeah.
With Julie, you know what I mean? But isn't that different than just being like free stuff, which would still be a good TLD .free stuff, but .freely just, it's more emotional,
more fun. And like it's an actual brand, because I think what's important, or what I like to think about with TLDs, is it has to be able to encompass a bunch of stuff because you have to have the second level domain. So something like freely could be anything. Like it's not free car, like .free cars. Well, that can only be so much, you know? So I think that's a really, I like that one. It's almost like .girly pop.
There you go.
So we got a question for more than SEO.
All right, let me do one more page and then we'll do it. Let's see. .luxus, that's interesting. .the hub, I like that. .garage door, so now we're back to literal, you know what I mean? .moneybox. Go ahead.
I said .moneybox.
.hotel reservations, there's literal.
.oxygen, we all need
there. There we go. I like that one. I like that one.
I do too.
.snuggle.
Okay.
.wave, W-A-V, .mate. So yeah, some really good ones. So what you'll hear, Freename has a position in the Web3 universe. It's more as a boutique partner of individuals that own their own TLDs. And then they provide the technology that has the app for resolution, the integrations with other browsers, the integrations with the website builder, web hash, the way to set up the reseller page to be able to make revenue from selling domains. Those pages are now searchable, you know, online. So it's kind of like they're providing the technology for an owner of the TLD, almost like, you know, there's a real popular restaurant, Chick-fil-A, here in the southern United States.
Hey, I like
and one of the reasons I think they're so popular is that the local manager usually owns like half the restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because of that, they stay connected to that local community, what it wants, what products it wants, how it wants to be treated. And I think it's a really good idea. And I think there's a lot of that in the Freename system.
100% no. I think boutique for domains is a great way of putting it. All right.
Go ahead. What you got for the question?
Let's see if I can get it up here. Are you seeing any Web3 domains working with NFTs, which are the ownership asset of land DAOs like the Wyoming Land DAO or other DAO governance communities? Oh, we talked about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't. I like the idea, I think, of land DAOs, although my position here, again, Julie used the word balanced for me. Land exists in physical form, and the ownership of it exists in a series of contracts and papers. So I think it is good that to use the blockchain maybe to record that ownership, but who owns the land should be who owns the land.
Yeah.
And then if you want to represent that digitally, that's fine. Just like with domains, in a Web3 domain, there is no account at a registrar for it. So if you own it in your wallet, you own it immutably. And then what the industry is doing now is they're combining the ownership of the domain at the registrar with an NFT, saying we're going to merge those together, like heating them with molten steel, where they merge together. And then when you buy the NFT, you get the domain. If you have the domain, you get the NFT. But when it comes to things like land, I just wonder, now, virtual land is the complete opposite. If we created our own planet, like Planet V, then I could sell virtual land on Planet V. And the way to immutably say who owns different plots of land would be on the blockchain. You know what I mean? Because it would be that digital ownership that would matter. So anyway, that's my take on that one.
Yeah, I like to think every time we've talked about it, I always think of the NFT would almost be like the property card in Monopoly.
It
But
really
I
is.
agree that it definitely should belong to the person that owns the land.
Right. And I think let's keep going with that analogy, because there's a lot of Monopoly cards out there. Which one is the real owner, you know? And that's really where we have NFTs, is someone that has the NFT for ownership of that. It's not just a copy of a JPEG, you know. It's
Yeah.
they're the one that really owns it. And so I think that's where that comes from. And then when we have these things called ordinals, which are really crazy,
Ooh,
it's
I want
actually
you to tell about that a little bit.
it's actually what they've done is they've said every time something's written to a blockchain, it's done on a transaction. So think about like an electronic receipt. And then what if you could find that transaction and attach a little content on it? You could make it something called a one of one. A one of one. And that's what people want to own, something that no one else can own.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you want to own something that no one else can own if other people want to buy it. Sometimes you want to own a collectible where there's like 1,000 of them, so people can be buying and selling them all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but I think that I think digital collectibles, speculators are a big part of Web3. And I think Web 2 doesn't understand that they're a big part of Web 2. I think investors and speculators and people hoping that their domain name will become something valuable make up half the market.
100%.
And I don't think the registrars recognize that. They still think it's a small business in the middle of Iowa that's coming to open a painting business and they want a website. But boy, they're sure taking everyone's money when someone decides they were driving home and they saw a billboard and it made them think of a business and they bought 10 domain names for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, Julie. I feel like we're winding down. Everybody, next week we're going to have a wrap up of the show. Please put in the comments on whatever social media you're watching it on. Even though we have the chat, you can also like and stuff, or put a question. If you want to put a question in this week's comments, right, Julie, then we can get to it next week. Or if there's something you'd like to cover, we think we're talking about what everyone wants to talk about. But if you're watching the replay and you say, hey, I'd like to hear a little bit more about this part of domain investing, or this part of Web3, or this part of fashion, or this part of millennials, or this part of marketing to the younger generation, let us know.
Yeah, we're here every night at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Eastern time. So that's 7 o'clock Central time, correct?
Every Monday night.
Every Monday night. I am not here every night.
Okay.
Every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, with great attitudes and hopefully a lot to say. So hope everyone has a great week and happy New